Hayashi, who will be with us shortly. But before I turn it over to her, I'd love to just help us land here in the space together. So for those of you who may be new to Women Together Connect, this is really just a place for us to land in the busy heyday of our lives, and just come back to ourselves and each other, and just take a moment to develop, we call tiny practices, but a lot of these tiny practices are really practices that you can use at any point throughout the day, just to connect with yourself, with each other, with the larger world around you. And for those of you who may be longtime returnees, we've been hosting these sessions for a number of years now, and many of you know I went on maternity leave, and so I'm back, and have my little baby, who happens to be napping now, but we'll see if he'll make an appearance later. But it's been an absolute joy to be together as a community, even in the very tough times. So I'm just really extending a little note of gratitude to each of you for coming today, but for those of you who've been coming for a long time, as well, for just being there for each other. I know some of us have made new connections and friends. Some people have moved around the world and stayed in touch with each other. Um, so really, as this space kind of ebbs and flows, it gives us a way to just stay connected with each other, and with ourselves. So today's session is going to be focused on bravery and how we can really show up in the world. I think we live in challenging times. There are many different crises that we see in the world around us, and this invitation is to show up in our own bodies, in our own selves, with a little bit of bravery. So that may feel really easy for many of you, and it may feel tough for some of us. So, we'll just notice where we are. We're not here to judge each other or ourselves, but just noticing where we are in any given moment and being with what is. I was sitting the other day with my baby, and I was just sitting and thinking, it's not what it was, but it is what it is. And can we be with ourselves, not with what was and, what happened then, or, what it used to feel like, but being with what is now. And that may be true in our body every day as we wake up and greet the day. Our bodies are different, and so just being with what is now. So I'm really glad and grateful to have my mentor, friend, and teacher, Arawana, here with us. And we'll turn it over to her in just a minute. But maybe we just do a little moment of stillness to land, our first tiny practice of the day, just to land with each other here in the space. So if you can get both feet on the ground, that's a good way to just get started. You can feel your feet flat on the ground, or feel any connecting point that your body might make to the earth. You can close your eyes or lower your gaze, whichever is comfortable for you or in your practice. And just noticing the breath moving in and out of the body today. Again, just noticing that it's not what it was, it's exactly what it is. And just following the breath, breathing in and out, noticing that the body is quite good at this, knows what to do. Just noticing where you are today, noticing how you feel and what you're seeing or sensing. And we'll turn it over to Arawana, and we'll have some time with her, and then we'll have time in small groups together, which is really where the magic is, in these sessions. We love getting to learn from from incredible teachers around the world, and also to get to connect with each other. So that's the invitation here today. And for those of you who don't know Arawana or may not have met her yet, Arawana is an absolutely fantastic master teacher of many things, but she created a body of work called social presencing theater, which is built off of work that a friend and senior lecturer at MIT colleague, Otto Scharmer, he created something called presencing in Theory U, and Arawana really brings that to life in this practice of social presencing theater, where we dive into how we can experience that work in our bodies. So I'll just give you a little bit of background on Arwana. She's worked as a choreographer, a performer, and an educator. She's deeply resourced in awareness-based collaborative creative process. So in this creation, she really brings in other people, and she's worked with a number of people around the world to develop this work. And she's been a meditation teacher for many years. She's an acharya in the Shambhala tradition, and she's the author of a book called The Art of Making a True Move, Social Presencing Theater, The Art of Making a True Move, which is an absolutely beautiful book, and that allows us to really go deeper into the practices. She's been working with organizations, schools, and different communities, and really sensing into what their emerging possibilities are. And sometimes I find that Arawana has an incredible sense of humor, and when she works with kids or works with adults, or with all these different groups, just giving us a sense of what it means to be human, this very basic thing of what it means to be human, that can feel so complex and complicated. She can really allow us to just simply be with who we are. And I find that essence has really allowed me to come closer to this idea of a true move, of making a true move in my own life. So again, I'm so grateful for you, Arwana, for so many different reasons, and your friendship and your grandparenting to my little baby as well. But so thank you for being here and being with us and Women Together, and just believing in this work as much as you do. So over to you, Arwana.
So that was quite a long, lovely introduction. Thank you, Antoinette. I notice that the older I get, the longer the introductions are, because you just get old and you do a lot of things in your life. So I'm appreciative of this warm welcome, and also of being again with Women Together, which I always look forward to and appreciate the women that I meet here, and the conversations that unfold. So I'm grateful that there's this platform for us to get together. So I'm going to pick up a little bit on this topic, or that Antoinette mentioned, about being human. And yesterday I had a conversation with another friend of ours, and we were thinking about something that Otto Scharmer, who Antoinette just mentioned, and maybe some of you are familiar with his work. He was saying that the culture is such a maybe an addiction, many people these days, to three things. One is doing, one is knowing, and one is comfort. And that if you are in the business of non-doing and really appreciate not knowing, and also value discomfort, it's a very hard sell in the world today. It's running upstream. But there's something about this that was very simply put that has resonated with me. And it is connected to this two things. One is connecting to my sense and our sense of fundamental humanness, and a sense that that's a good thing, that it's good to be a human being. And so I don't mean good in terms of morality or good as opposed to bad. That's another topic. But just saying that living as a human at this very moment is full of sanity, excuse me, is full of warmth and affection for this world. And it's full of bravery. And in the times which Antoinette referred to in the US and in all over the world right now, there's quite a bit of uncertainty and quite a bit of reason that we could feel a little anxiety or quite a bit of anxiety or stress or worry or and all of these are in the kind of fear basket. So when there's fear, right, it can manifest as just a little restlessness and an inability to just sit still for 5 minutes. And it can also manifest, of course, as worry or fret or anxiety or stress or all of this kind of difficult feeling that is related to a kind of fearfulness. So I'm interested in this topic of fear, which I think is very interesting, and what we usually think, well, I hope that goes away, or how are we going to get rid of that, or try to maintain or contain that in some way. But I'm quite actually interested in it in terms of its relationship to just everyday, ordinary courage and bravery. And that I'm speaking of courage and bravery to step a little bit out of our comfort zone. And most of us with privilege, we have an opportunity and almost a calling to be brave in this world. And much has been given to us, and much will be asked, and much is asked of us. And one of those things is just being present when there's difficult feeling. And that difficult feeling in today's reflection is around this quality of anxiety or fear or nervousness or jumpiness or restlessness, that kind of sense of a little like, ugh. I think it's called stress for many of us. So I'm interested in this because my own sense is how important it is to stay in the body and to not jump into this world of because this happened, what if this happens, how will it work out, this mental world. And the mental world and this kind of continuous kind of chatter and story and planning and ruminating can also get us away from feeling grounded, feeling the feet on the ground, the seat on the chair, the belly sitting, the low body being present. Things kind of go up into the upper body and into the mind, and they don't settle down. So I'm saying that there's something valuable, which probably most of us know anyways, in this embodied presence, embodied settledness, because it then allows our mind and our attention to expand and not be so tied up in knots about what about me, what about us, how is this going to work out? But we have much more sense of open awareness. So I start out a little practice to continue with what Antoinette started with us. I've been reading a book called Welcoming Beginner's Mind by a very good colleague and friend of ours. whose name is Galen Ferguson, but the practice is welcoming. And it just is 2 or 3 minutes. But I really find that this sense of welcoming has been a way of feeling this is enough. My world is, is has some kind of basic fundamental goodness and coherence, and I can just be with that. I can welcome that. So I'm not saying that it's always pleasant. We have aches and body aches and pains and illnesses, and we have certainly things in our life that aren't working out as well with our kids or our work or whatever. But nonetheless, for this few minutes, we can practice being with and welcoming, not trying to get rid of or judge or, have some kind of opinion about everything, but just saying, I can sit, feel my body, and welcome. So if it's okay, and that's the invitation, if you don't feel like welcoming, that's fine also. But for those of us that would like to spend a few minutes welcoming, maybe we could just do that together. So here's how it goes. There's not much to it. We just are sitting. And I think it's sensible, as Antoinette suggested, to feel like we're connected to the good Mother Earth. Our feet are on the ground and we feel our seat. And that we find that we have a place on the earth. This has been very important to me, that this is my place in the room that I'm in right now. And that my spot has a place on the earth, that each of us, as well as every other being, has a spot right now on the good Mother Earth planet. And that she is a perfect example of welcoming. She just lets us put our weight wherever we are on the earth. And she supports that. She supports it. She holds it. And she's holding on to us, right? Otherwise, we would all be floating off into outer space. The Earth's body is holding our body very close. And so we can feel that. We can feel that she is welcoming our body, and we can just rest on her body. So we start there. And then the invitation here is to notice that back body, because the back of the body has enormous strength. Not just our physical strength, but it also has this sense of all of our teachers and wisdom ancestors, all those who've gone before us, women, men, non-binary folks. So many people have wanted a good world, have wanted good families, good communities. And we have that energy of those always backing us up. We can feel it in our back, the strength of the back, the presence of the back body. And then just take a moment to notice the sky above, lots of space, huge amounts of space around the body above. Space for possibility. For some, it's space of spiritual inspiration, space of creativity, of things that haven't happened yet. And then we have our heart. All of the sadness or grieving or sorrow of the heart, as well as all of our delight and appreciation, joy in this heart. So that's a little body check-in. And now we just do nothing. We just welcome. You can turn away a little from the screen if you want. Just welcome whatever we see, we hear, we feel in our bodies, thoughts come and go, that's fine. We just have a couple minutes of welcoming. We're not trying to fix or change anything. Thank you very much for that. Now, if you just take a moment and look at our screen and one another, we extend our welcoming to each other by just looking at every person in their environments. The sense of, I love this word, behold. We're just beholding everyone. And as we behold each other, we see in each other basic courage. We see each other and we say, oh, I see a woman who can welcome whatever and be present in the body and grounded. And I see a courageous, brave woman. Women, I see them. I don't know anybody. I know Elizabeth a little bit, but here, but nonetheless, what I see is women who really can step out of their own story and be brave in this world. I see that you do that. And much of our work in transformation is recognizing that these qualities are already there, not trying to get better, get smarter, get more attractive, not always saying that I don't have enough, I'm not enough. If I were kinder, if I were a better parent, if I were more skilled. I'm not saying that we can't all use improvement, mind you, but I am saying that what we sometimes fail to recognize is our fundamental embodied goodness and courage and sanity. And we don't see it in other people. We just see them as a also kind of they could use improvement also. But this recognizing or beholding one's own amazing strength and open-heartedness is part of the work that we're doing in social presencing theater and in presencing. The word theater actually means a place where something can be seen. That's what the origin of that word means, theater. The root of the word is seeing, a place where something is visible. And in our work, we try to make visible, not, I mean, also blind spots in the systems and on ourselves. This is important to see those with gentleness and, love and loving kindness towards these various, bad habits that we all have. But it is also so important that we're not looking at ourselves as a self-improvement project or others. That we're not trying to make them be something other than what they are, but to see in them this amazing qualities of innate sanity and innate goodness and innate courage. It has a feeling, right, in the body. We have a feeling looking at one another. So what is that feeling? So before we go into our groups, which I know we need to do in a few minutes, I'm going to ask, it's an invitation, and if you feel like it, that would be great. And if not, that's also fine. I work with the body, as Antoinette said. So the request or the invitation, if you feel like you can stand up, if you're in a situation where you can stand or would like to, that's great. And if not, just remain seated. That's fine also. So can you make an embodied gesture, like a sculpture? Well, much of what we do is making sculptures. We can make sculptures of places, situations where we feel stuck and can't move forward in our, whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. We call that a stuck. You can make a sculpture of it. What are the forces that are keeping us from moving forward? But we can also make what we call a seed gesture, or it's a gesture of something that we know is in us but doesn't always come out. Like it lives in us. And the topic here is a little bit around courage. It lives in us, but it needs more encouragement. The seed needs more like, uh, you know, sunshine and water in order to flourish more in our life. So if you think about your life where you would like something to flourish more, it's a seed of your own aspiration, your own courage to say something to someone that you haven't been able to say, or your own kind of courage to step out and create something. It could be anything like this. But just think about this for a minute. Is there something in you that you really aspire or want, or it's needed in the world, but you can't quite rally to do it? I can think of several in my own life. I can't quite muster up what's necessary to just make that first step or write that first note or whatever, open that conversation. Okay. Do you find one in yourself? Something where you need a little bit of recognition of your own courage. Okay. What would that look like if you made a sculpture of it? Okay. You're making a little sculpture in the body that would represent or that would embody this seed of courage to do this one particular kind of thing, or it could be many things. But what would that look like, that gesture? Is it one that's more in your back, or is it one that's more reaching out? Or is it more looking up, or would it be more looking down? What is that gesture that you would make that connects you to your own bravery, your own sense of how to go forward with someone? What would that gesture look like or feel like? Okay, where are the hands? Where are the back? What does it feel like? Just hold your shape for a moment. Now, if your shape, the sculpture, had something to say, this is not quite the same as you have something to say. Your shape, like it's in a museum, this is a sculpture. What would be its title? What would it like to say right now? Like for some funny reason, when I'm in this shape, the words that come to my mind, I don't know why, they come to my mind is colorful, more colorful. Now, I don't know what that exactly means, but there's something about it that my body would like to say. So if you have something, just say it to yourself, or if you're on mute, you could say it out loud. Your shape has something to say. Okay, now, perfect. Just let your shape dissolve. And if you did make a shape, when you go in your small breakout group now, if you feel like it, the invitation is to share your shape with the other 2 or 3 people in your group. Now, the other 2 can only respond in a very specific way and very briefly. So just to set the conversation, you can say, you're talking about yourself, not about the person's shape, not about the person who made the shape. You have no idea really what their experience is. I'm going to repeat that. You do not project what you think that other person experiences, but you can say what you experience. When I see that shape, I felt cheerful. I felt heavy. I felt, wiggly, whatever, right? You can say, or I saw your hands were wide open, or something like that. It's something that it's data. It's not interpretation. It's not meaning making. It's data. This is what I saw. This is what I felt. Just briefly, just one or 2 words. Each person can share if you'd like. And that just starts a little sense of, a little bit of reflection back. Then the next person can share and whatever, and that maybe will open a conversation about embodied courage, which is what the topic is, this welcoming our experience as a basis for whatever we think we need to step forward a little bit or pull back if that's what it takes, So I hope that's a little bit that might, for some of you, start your conversation and your breakout. And I think we have 15 or 20 minutes here for our small groups. Thank you very much for jumping in and trying.
Thank you, Arawana. Perfect. So let's just jump into breakouts and remember that we don't know what the other person had for breakfast, let alone what they may have dealt with all day today, or what their shape may be. So enjoy the time together, and we'll see you back in about 20 minutes.